Hello and welcome to a Bergkamp Wonderland. Are we an Arsenal podcast? I'm not too sure. Anyway, it's been a while since I've been on the airways. So welcome everybody. I don't think anything's gone too disastrously wrong whilst I've been away. Oh, hang on, no, yeah, we're shit now. It's awful. But I've joined by two other people to talk through the maelstrom of the last three games, plus everything else that has been going on in the Arsenal world. First, say hello to Femi. Hey, Femi, how's it going?
How you doing, Josh? Going well. Looking forward to talking about Arsenal, I guess.
Aren't we all? I know, it's normally been, I think I've been off for like 4 weeks, and I was like, normally you're like itching to get back into it, like full on pod fever. This one's like, oh, okay, gotta talk through it. But there's obviously a man who's always got a cheery disposition when it comes to Arsenal, and that is Carl, who's also joining us.
Hello. It is I back again because Dani is a lazy shit and he can't be bothered to jump on the podcast. So I'm taking the resident's fat person's position as Dani. So I don't even want to call me White Dani from now on.
Okay, we'll go with that one. Where do we start in kind of getting through everything? I apologise to anyone listening if I get the games in the wrong order, because to be honest, I can't remember which one came first, West Brom or Villarreal.
Villarreal, wasn't it?
Where do we start with that one? Carl, do you want to open the wound?
So I guess from the start, everyone had high hopes. You know, playing at home, we only needed to score one goal. So I'll be honest with you, I was very hopeful that we was going to win, even expectant. And I don't know if that's even something I should really be with Arsenal. But I thought to myself, we're at home. We only need to score one goal, and surely Arsenal could do that. And I was happy. So the team came out, and the team wasn't too bad. Like if you looked at it, we started Aubameyang. He started up front, and then sort of behind him we had Smith, Odegaard, and Pepe. Pepe has literally been on fire in the Europa League this season. So you saw the team, and he was like, not too bad. I think at the time, when the game started, we started quite brightly, if I can remember. We was not too bad. We was getting forward. But then as the game sort of went on, we weren't getting our shots on goal. I think it was like 20 minutes in, and we still hadn't had a shot on goal. And after that, you're thinking to yourself, okay, well, something's obviously sort of gone wrong here, because what's happening? We still try to press, obviously. And we kept knocking on the door. The formation for me was wrong, because you had Partey. We played a sort of a 4-1-4-1, didn't we? I'm sure, with Partey in the middle. And Partey, as good as he is, I think he needs a partner. He wasn't good enough to sort of marshal in front of the defence by himself. And also, so you're talking about him being the defensive midfielder and also being the link between the midfield and the forward players. And you could tell by the end of the game, Partey was knackered. He was gone, because it was too much for him to do. But unfortunately, Arteta is very obviously reluctant in changing in tactics. It's just something he just doesn't do, unfortunately. We had an injury to Xhaka, didn't we? And we had to start.
Yeah.
We had to start Tierney, and obviously Tierney's been out for a while, and obviously having an actual left back was good, because why he was persistent in playing Xhaka left back, God only knows. But that's something for Mikel to, I guess, explain for himself. I guess disappointment comes to mind with Villarreal, because it was in our own hands. We had the opportunity to score and we just didn't. We didn't take our chances. Mikel Arteta got the tactics wrong. The players weren't as good as they should have been, but they haven't been this season, unfortunately. And that game was just a culmination of our season, having it in our own hands, needing to do the very, very basic and just not being able to execute it. Femi, when we was playing, did you have a sense of sort of as the game was going on that we was even going to score a goal?
I knew after 15 minutes. I'm trying to find a tweet that I sent. I said, this has been a horrible 15 minutes because I made a prediction before the game. You know what I thought of? I thought of Chelsea at home. I thought of Tottenham at home, where we just came out of the blocks in those games and they just didn't know what to do. This game was the absolute opposite, wasn't it? We were just, it was so weird. It was one of the weirdest performances I think I can remember for a long, long, long time from any team, not just from us, from any team, because you kind of know what you have to do. But from 15 minutes onwards, I don't know, maybe sometimes you have to give credit to the opposition, maybe, I don't know. But for me, it just was all wrong. And like I think something that you just said now, which I've never actually thought about, was we don't actually ever really change tactics in game under Arteta. We do change it sometimes game to game, but in game, Emery was known for that, just consistently changing tactics all over, like 3-4 times during a game. But I'm thinking Arteta just kind of makes like for like subs, doesn't he? Doesn't really change tactics. I don't know. So maybe that was something that he should have spotted and then thought, you know what, maybe the balance isn't right. All I called for in the game was, instead of keep throwing attackers on, I said maybe you should just put an Elneny in and just build from a base, basically. But we had nothing to build from, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I thought it was weird how we kind of basically just threw away the first half and said, well, Villarreal aren't going to attack us. We're just going to, keep it 0-0 and then attack them for the final 45 and try and force something. And it just didn't work out that way. Obviously, we can talk about another performance that, we did something in the first 15 minutes and then just sat back and closed up for the Chelsea game. But this one it didn't work out for us. And I think there's a lot to look at the manager. Obviously, when you put in a tactic that is so obvious when you look at it, that he's gone, right, we're just playing for a 1-0. Easiest way for us to get through. Score a goal, don't let him concede. And it go, and you don't score, you've got to put some blame on the manager. Absolutely. Because he sees these players and knows that they've got this problem. I think he mentioned it post-game after West Brom. It was like, great, Pepe pinged one in the top corner. It was a wonderful goal. Where the fuck was that drive against Villarreal? That's all we needed from you. And the same goes for Willian. He scores a free kick from 30 yards. Again, that's the bit of magic we just needed midweek. Didn't need that against West Brom. But where it actually mattered was against Villarreal. So I understand his frustrations as well. But I think this is something that has got to be levelled at. He's got to take responsibility for it, and I think he did. But
Josh, with the hindsight of 2020, obviously hindsight's a wonderful thing. Yeah. We played Newcastle on the Sunday, the day before. Man United, Liverpool 1-0 down. Anyway, with the hindsight of 2020, the tactic we was going to use against Villarreal, do you think that we should have used that against Newcastle to see how it would have played out in game? Because surely that's to use a brand new tactic that you haven't kind of used before. And obviously, he's got 3 days to work on the training ground. But do you think maybe against Newcastle, that's what we should have gone with, just to see how we played?
I don't think we'd get the same thing from Newcastle to kind of help us. I think their best player, unfortunately, couldn't play against us because, he's on loan from us in Joe Willock. The thing that kind of frustrates me is we have seen these kind of performances from Arsenal and it's possibly the biggest positive from Arteta's tenure, other than what's happened off the field. On the field is how frugal our defence has been. We're not giving up as many sloppy errors. We are a lot more defensively solid than we were under Emery, who I think we'd all agree is a manager who is very conservative, very pragmatic. The problem has always been that we haven't been able to score the goals. And I think we saw that against Chelsea, that, this team does know how to defend. It has that in its locker. So long as the Granit Xhaka isn't playing, balls across the face of goal, and we're talking about individual errors from maybe Leno, or we've seen them from everybody. Hector, Bellerin, Ceballos, exactly. He was fortunately suspended for the game, but we've seen it from everyone. If that back line keeps its discipline, it will keep a clean sheet. And especially when you're coming up a manager, it was, how you get the cliche of the immovable object against the unstoppable force. The first half was just two immovable objects playing against each other, just kind of sitting there. Neither of them wanted the ball. And yeah, for me, I wouldn't have changed the tactic. And if we could play the game again, I'd go with exactly the same thing, because in my mind, it's the tactic I would have gone with as well. I'd have played for the 1-0 and hope for the best, because we always seem to pick up something. But yeah, I just think overall it was horrible when it went wrong. Because you're just sitting there going, we could have done so much more. And like Femi said, some of the changes at the ends, when Nketiah came on,
91st.
For me, I didn't
minute,
agree with that, because he took off. He took off. We needed to score a goal, and you take off our top goal scorer. Is he top goal scorer?
Which one, Lacazette or Aubameyang?
He took off Aubameyang, didn't he? He took off Aubameyang, and for me, that doesn't make sense. You need to score a goal, so why not go with the two up front? I understand that, yes, it would have probably disgruntled the shape of the team, but after that point, you're going to go out anyway, so you might as well just sort of throw caution to the wind. And I guess it's what we were talking about earlier, Femi. Like, he just doesn't seem to change tactics. Instead of saying, right, we're going to go 4-4-2 or 4-1-3-2. So like, just you think to yourself, right, we need to score a goal. Let's have two like strikers on the pitch, and he doesn't do it. And then, like you said, throwing on Nketiah in like the 90th minute, it's just like, what do you want him to do? Like, I don't know. Like, again, like you said, Josh, I think a lot needs to be looked at. I mean, the players as well. The players didn't turn up, unfortunately, but I think the manager has to take a proportion of the blame for that, because he's very rigid. Like you said, doesn't like to change in-game these tactics, and unfortunately, it's. I want to say that he's not going to be his undoing, but unfortunately, it seems that he might. It might be. You remember Arsene Wenger used to sort of have these trust in players to say, right, these are the players on the football pitch. I'm trusting them to work the tactic I've given them, and it should work. And that was Arsene Wenger. That's what he knew. That's what he used to do. Because I can't ever remember Arsene Wenger making a change at halftime like Emery did. But yeah, I don't know. He has faith in his tactics, but unfortunately, just on this game, it just didn't work. And now we're out of Europe, the only English team, unfortunately, in the semi-finals, who didn't make it through. Did that hurt more, Femi? Like, not being the only English team, not in the final?
Do you know what? I think it would have hurt more if we actually made an attempt to score. I think maybe, you know what? I pictured a 1-0 going into. I pictured a 1-0 going into the last 10 minutes, and we let in a goal, and we're scrambling to. But we kind of just, that last 10 minutes was just like, we just did nothing. All the usual stuff that you'd expect, a team chasing a goal to do. Throw a centre back forward, ping balls into the box, get the ball forward quickly. We did absolutely none of that. So it was kind of hard to get kind of heartbroken. Those heartbroken games, like Olympiacos last season, where we got back into the game and we were going through and everyone was excited, and then they scored and we're thinking, what the flip are we doing? That was a little bit. And then Oba misses that last gasp. There was not even half as much excitement in this game. So then you end up from about the 80th minute, just thinking, yeah, we're just not going to score here, and no effort was put in to do anything different. So that's a very steep learning curve. It's going to hurt a lot the players and the manager. I think that kind of performance, I think they're going to have a lot of post-mortem internally about that.
Yeah, and I think when you certainly look at it, when we threw on all those strikers, it just didn't help us because they were all trying to make exactly the same run. They're just getting caught on top of each other. I remember Lacazette trying to get away a shot, and Nketiah's on top of him. Martinelli's in the same place as him. And I completely agree with the substitution of Nketiah was just completely wrong. And for me, I know you said, Femi, that Elneny would have been your choice. For me, it would have been Calum Chambers, but for similar reason. Just stick a big guy up there.
Yeah.
Big
well,
guy,
I mean, Hector, sorry to cut you off. Hector Bellerin was getting... He had 2 shots, didn't he? So he was getting into the box, in good positions. And then we took him off. Like you're saying, we could have put Chambers in that position and he would have caused more of a nuisance. But what we ended up doing was putting kind of Emile Smith-Rowe towards the right back area and Saka towards, and it was just a massive plod of just mess.
Yeah, and I'm sure we'll go into it later as well, the kind of fallout of that game, and who's going to be leaving, who now says they want to leave, and all sorts in there. But let's move on to a bit more of a positive result. We'll go on to West Brom. I think firstly, I think we can quickly go around it. Femi, thoughts on the West Brom game? I think there's only one real highlight from it, in my mind.
What, William?
I was gonna go with relegating Big Sam, but
to be fair, I mean we could say Emile Smith-Rowe's first Premier League goal. That's something that he as a player will always remember. Us as fans, hopefully, if he stays long term, will always remember. I think that's quite a big moment. He's a kid that obviously has got quite a few goals in the Europa League. So for him to break his duck in the Premier League was quite a big moment. Obviously, you spoke about the Pepe, magical goal. I think that's another moment because he's only ever done that kind of goal one other time in the Premier League against West Ham. All those other goals.
I was thinking the one against Brighton.
Did he
scored
another?
He did
Brighton. Do that. Yeah, but we didn't win that game. We lost that game, didn't we? So he did. You're right. Against Brighton, West Ham, and now against West Brom, he scored that goal. But he saved those types of goals mainly for the Europa League. So obviously, but then he was dropped yesterday. But that's another story, I guess. And then obviously we had Mr. Williams scoring his first goal, which is a bit of I was surprised it wasn't ruled out for the pushing, but whatever. He got his goal and we move on. But apart from that, I mean, I can't remember anything else about the game. I'm not even going to. Apart from Big Sam sitting in the back seat, absolving himself of any blame whatsoever, just mumbling to himself. I couldn't believe it. I was like, why is this? He deserves it, to be honest with you. Just sitting in the back like it's got nothing to do with him.
If I was a West Brom fan in that stadium at the time, oh my God, I'd have found whatever items I'd have brought with me and throwing them in his general direction. Because
you know what's funny as well? Because in the interview they asked him, "Oh, will you be staying?" And he's blatantly not going to stay, and he's just like, "Well, we'll have to sit down and talk about it." Like he's now been relegated. He's throwing his toys at his prime because he's now not known as the man who saves every single team. That he manages.
Probably lost a bonus as well there, hasn't he?
Massive. Oh, of course he has, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, I think after he's banned from England, allegedly. Like for me, I'm with you, Josh. Like that was the highlight because I'm still remembering the days of his Bolton teams when he used to just kick lumps out of us. Do you know what I mean? I know you shouldn't hold him to a grudge, but I haven't forgiven that. Like, just some of the things that his team used to do. It's just we were just known as a soft touch back then. Like, just put boot in. Like, and that was, you can tell that was his tactic back in the day. You know, we used to have like was it Kevin Phillips?
No,
Not
Kevin Davis.
Phillips.
Kevin
Kevin
Davis.
Davis, that's the one. Like one of the shittest footballers you'd ever like meet, but he just used to. Like, he was good, but he was shit at the same time. And you kind of think to yourself, like, how is this guy so good? Because he was. Like, if you wanted a target man, he was a person, like, you'd lump it up to him. He'd, like, just literally chest it, and it would just stick to his chest. And he'd knock it down and then play the ball with, like, a neat pass. But he was just so shit, wasn't he? But no credit. Like,
I was going to say his Blackburn team as well. Remember that with Morton Gamps Pedersen on the wing. Just another one of just like, oh, fuck's sake. Savage in the middle. We know what's happening here. They're going to kick us. Get it out to that guy. He's going to throw a cross into the middle and they'll win. And
Kevin Davis and Kevin Nolan. The two
Kevs.
Nolan that followed him everywhere, didn't he?
But it's nice to get a win, especially at home as well, because our home form hasn't been the best. Unfortunately, it was declining. I think something like we conceded 19 goals, and only scored 18 or something like that. So it was nice to get a home win. I think that was a game that let's be honest, we was always going to win, wasn't we? I don't think we kind of broke a sweat playing that game. It was a bit touch and go when it went to 2-1. But apart from that, the highlight, like I said, relegating Big Sam and Willian scoring a free kick. And unfortunately, everyone's saying, where was that like in the season? Like, it's weird. Do you think it's a psychological thing, Josh, that pressure's off, we're kind of ready to be playing, nothing to play for. So now the pressure's off, they can just go out and just play football.
Yeah, I don't think in Willian's career, expectations have been so high for him. Obviously, before he went to Chelsea, he was at Shakhtar, and I think at that point, it's just everybody at Shakhtar Donetsk, especially if you're Brazilian, is there to basically be fattened up to sell you on to the next club. And at Chelsea, when he came in, it was big money, but he wasn't the star of that team. I think when he came in, Lampard's still there, Hazard's then coming in as well. He's never had the expectation of, coming to Arsenal, and we're expecting him. And I think Arteta said this as well, that we've expected so much more from him. There's an expectation as a, seasoned pro in the Premier League who has been consistent at getting 10 goals or assists across the season, should be, be more consistent in their in how they're playing and their performances, and we just haven't seen that from him. And that was one of my big criticisms of Willian generally, was he's really only just a free kick merchant, and we've just seen it once from him. That was the one thing he'd do at Chelsea, was big game situation, you need him, stick him on a free kick 25, 30 yards out, chances are he's going to put a great ball, he's going to have a great shot, great opportunity. And, 8 times out of 10, he scores it. And for me, it's been incredibly frustrating. And I'm going to put Pepe in that thing as well. Perhaps it's the money we paid for Pepe, that his expectation or our expectations of him are so high. I think if we paid half of that, we were talking about our £35 million winger, and he had the season he did this season, we're probably all content. But I'm completely blinded by that price tag, and I can't get my head away from it. That we should see more from Pepe consistently, when it matters, against teams that it matters against. We should be seeing these performances, and not saying he hasn't done it for us, but that's not the point. He needs to do it more often. And we can now talk about the Chelsea game where he's not there. He's not in the side. We've gone with Saka and Smith Rowe. I think, especially next season, where I'm hoping we've got a Martinelli as an option. Rumours we're going to look to get another player in that kind of area as well, be it try and get Odegaard again. Rumours again circulating about Jack Grealish. What happens to Nicolas Pepe? Because he's not getting in that front three for us at all. And Femi, where do you feel about the future of Pepe in that regard?
I think that it's just because we've got so much work to do that I think he survives, to be honest with you. I'm not sure that Arteta is like an A1 fan of his, because like you're saying, there's some games that I've watched. I think there was a game that Oba and Laka didn't play, and then you've got Pepe in the game. You're thinking you're now the senior man, basically, because not just on price tag. Like you're saying, even if he cost 35 million, he would still have been the senior man in that line, in that front attacking. And he just, he's good. But when you're trying to step up to another level, you need better. And if you take out his Europa League numbers, I don't think people would be that impressed, to be honest with you. If you actually did, he's a lot of his stats that we see in Arsenal shirts are padded up by Europa League games, to be honest, especially Europa League group games as well. I see a player in there, but I think one thing that Mikel Arteta did mention in his press conference when they asked him about Emile Smith-Rowe scoring his first goal, and I think it came out a bit wrong, but I think what he was saying was, he needs to be scoring sort of 20 goals, in that position. So there's some positions in a team that no matter what you do, you have to. I'll let you say that. There's some positions that you have to be scoring and assisting a lot of goals. You just have to, because that's the key positions in the league. And I'm sure we can look at our midfield scoring, and it's pretty pathetic. Whatever way you look at it, if you look at Saka, for example, we take out Saka, and then you look at the rest of the midfield, it's not great at all. So we need numbers. We need numbers. Numbers actually mean a lot. We haven't scored enough goals this season, but whether we like it or not.
Yeah, so the stat that you're alluding to that I just popped in there was Pepe's Premier League record is 27 appearances, 6 goals and 1 assist.
There you go. And that's why I always worry when we talk about, when we add total numbers in, Europa League numbers do pad up a lot of this, and it's mainly Europa League group stage numbers as well. So, it's fair enough. You get, you get the, you get the numbers, but we need league numbers. We cannot be scoring 50 odd goals in the league. It's not acceptable, and that comes down to the whole squad, to be honest with you. Yeah, the strikers. We need 2 players to be hitting 20 goals a season. Look at the lot up the road. They've had a miserable season. The only reason they're even anywhere near the top half of the table is because they've got 2 players that have basically just pumped goals in for them. Everything else has just been garbage. Their defense is rubbish. Their midfield is rubbish. But they just got 2 players that score goals. And we need players to step up now and add numbers.
Yeah, we know that. Go on, Carl. I was going to say, we've got Aubameyang, haven't we? Who's also not had a great season.
Yeah.
He's not, no one has stepped up for him. Lacazette is having the same season he had last season in terms of goal production. And we just haven't seen anybody, step up in that way. And I think for somebody that has taken the majority of our corners as well in Pepe to only have 1 assist, I think that's the kind of thing we're kind of talking of. It's not just his output in terms of goals, because again, you could say most Premier League wingers, even top ones, 10 goals in a season, you'll be happy with that. I think it's only because, Liverpool and us playing Aubameyang on the wing has kind of skewed everyone's expectations of what wingers should be outputting across the season. But look at someone like Mahrez. He's about, he's into the teens of goals, but he's not challenging for the golden boot. And that's where we should be seeing someone a bit like Pepe, that maybe he only gets 6 goals, but that assist number should be exactly the same as well. He should be setting chances up for people. And I think it's the excuse of him saying, this is how I want my fullback to be. I've got to have a fullback that's overlapping me for my game to work. Sorry, mate, you've been here for 2-3 seasons now. Adapt your game. That's what the best players do. The best players don't need a team to be built around them to get the best out of them. And I think that's my biggest frustration now with him. It's just that inconsistency. And I can imagine, Mikel is exactly the same. But Carl, you had a point on it as well. Go back to you on
just also our centre midfielders. Like, I think our centre midfielders have only contributed maybe 3 goals between. I think about 4 it is between Elneny, Ceballos, Xhaka, and Partey. Like, I don't think Partey is above criticism either. He's come in, and yes, people can say he's had injuries, but he's. Let's be honest with you. Looking at Partey, would any of you have paid 50 million for him? Like, he hasn't been very good. Like, no assists. I'm sorry, no, 1 assist, I believe, and no goals. And his shooting is, God, leaves a lot to be desired, unfortunately. But, I think it's just a collective of, we just haven't turned up this season. No one. I mean, you're looking at Emile Smith-Rowe only really got into the team after Christmas, about that. And him and Saka have been our best players. Now that's ridiculous. You're talking about 2 really, really young guys being our best players, and I think a lot can be said about Lacazette. And Aubameyang. Should Aubameyang be our captain? For me, no. If Mikel Arteta is really, really forceful about taking his team forward, he's got to take that captaincy away from Aubameyang. He has to, because Aubameyang is not a captain. You've seen some of the antics he's done this season, turning up late, just being a prat. He's not a leader. I'm not saying that everyone needs to be a John Terry or a Tony Adams. Like, those days have gone. You're never going to find someone like that again, unfortunately. But a captain should lead by example. From what we see, what example does Aubameyang lead, apart from putting up Instagram videos of saying people's name and laughing and just doing nonsense? Like, I don't know. Like, there needs to be a whole culture change, which I'm sure we'll talk about later. We sort of press onto the Chelsea game, but yeah, it was a new tactic, I guess, against Chelsea, and you both know that I was so. Me and John was kind of going back and forth in our WhatsApp group, because I didn't think we was going to win. I looked at their team and I said, "Nope, never going to happen." That just absolutely ridiculous. We was all like, Saka at right wing back. What? Like, what are you on about? We've got 3 right backs sitting on the bench, and we put Saka at right wing back. And although he didn't have the best game, I was totally just not against it. And John, God bless him, he kept the faith. He was like, "Nope, I can't wait for everyone to have egg on their face when we win." And I was just like, I literally was like, "Shut up, John. Like, what are you on about? Like, obviously you've been sniffing too many old women's knickers." Like, and no, look what happened. We won. I was totally shocked. Femi, I guess he was as shocked as I at the end of that game when we won.
Okay. Yeah. We won. We dug in. We gave a dogged performance, but I mean, we lived the first half anyway. We lived a very charmed life. Let's put it like that. I don't know how we went in 1-0, but to be fair to our second half, we dug in there. They only had those 2 shots at the end. They didn't have any other clear-cut chances, to be fair to us. And Rob Holding excels in games like that, to be honest with you. Everything. He's like Tony Adams in a game like that, where everything is just attracted to him. He boots everything, heads everything. He looked good. Mari was up and down in the game. So was Gabriel. His passing was awful, but it's a new position for him, I guess. I don't know if he ever played that at Lille, a 3 at the back. He did at the beginning of the season for us, but he's playing in the center of the 3, wasn't he? And he looked really good. But playing the left side of the 3, he looked, he looked quite dodgy. But Yeah, I was shocked that we went with that system, which surprisingly, but I guess sometimes when you go away from home, you kind of might have to accept that sometimes. I mean, it's better to win two big top 6 games this season when we hadn't won for like how many years? 5, 6, 7 years. We hadn't even won one, and we won 2 this season. So you can't begrudge us that. So if that's the way that we have to play against the top 6 teams away from home to win, if we can gain more control in midfield, I don't have a problem with it. Even though I don't want to see that regularly, if it's a way for us to break that top 6, the thing over us, where we used to go to teams like Chelsea and let in 4s and 5s regularly, and that's one thing that I'll give Mikel Arteta credit for. We are far more competitive, especially defensively in those games. So let's see how we can improve going forward, hopefully.
But do you think that's the issue? So let's just say we've kind of got top 6 down, but it's the other games that obviously we're not doing too well at. So would you rather win the top 6 games or win, against the Wolves and the Aston Villas and the Brightons and the Evertons of this world?
Yeah, now this is it. We're doing decent against the top 6 sides. We're doing decent against the bottom sort of 6 sides. It's that middle group of teams that we're not only not doing decent against them, they're actually just beating us as well. Teams like Villa, Burnley, Wolves seem to have the hoodoo over us for some reason. Villa seem to have the hoodoo over us. It's teams that can defend well and attack well. Teams that can defend well, we seem to be all right to break them down by the odd goal. Teams that defend and attack well, we seem to have a massive issue against them. And I don't know. It's going to take. I think the only plus point that I'll give in those games, apart from the Villa at home, is we haven't been blown away in the games. And I saw something about Sheffield United last season where they won a lot of games by the odd goals. So that kind of kept them in that sort of 10th place that they were at. So as soon as you have a swing the other way in all those games that you're winning by the odd goals, you end up with the season that they've had. So we've lost quite a few games, mainly by the odd goal. So I'm hoping that odd goal can swing in a different direction for us. But maybe I'm being optimistic.
Yeah, I'd agree with you as well, Femi. I think we're exactly the same kind of issue, that an odd goal here and there, that's a couple of points for us. There's plenty of 0-0s we've had this season. Again, 1-0s. We've had the opportunities, and it is odd how I think we can kind of say Arteta is very, very good at setting Arsenal up to stop another team playing. Yeah. But it's when the expectation's there for us to attack that team as well, where we kind of come undone, that we overcommit. And it's like that Villa game where we lost 3-0. We overcommitted and they just picked us off, which is basically they Arsenaled us. In a way, that's the tactic that we do to the rest of the big 6. But I think otherwise, generally, that win for us against Chelsea, our goal might have been a bit of fortune for us. But say another goal for Smith Rowe. I think that confidence on him a world of good, especially after the chance he missed against Villarreal. I think when you look at all the players' reactions at the final whistle to the Villarreal game, Smith Rowe looked absolutely devastated because obviously he had that chance that he put wide. I think possibly being a bit harsh on himself for not scoring it. But I think we look like we've got a good one there, and puts us in contention not only for potential St Totteringham's Day, which could still come, the silver lining to our big old cloud that's been this season. Europa League conference as well, which doing the research on it earlier, I think we'll send our under-18s, I think. Can't qualify for it directly. Everybody's in qualifying rounds. The best teams in it are going to be basically the team that wins the not Carling Cup, whatever it's called now, Carabao Cup, but otherwise 7th placed English team. And then whoever doesn't qualify or gets knocked out in the qualifying rounds of the Europa League. I mean, Femi, if we manage to end up in Europa League, in Europa Conference, we're finishing 7th. How do we take a tournament like that?
This one is very, very simple. You play as I want to say you play as many young players and bed in as many players as you can. Give game time to as many squad players as you can. Do not play any first team players. I would totally separate it if we got into it. Totally separate it. The one advantage, the one advantage that you have is you don't have Champions League teams dropping into it. You have Europa League teams dropping into it, which that's so funny. So you're going to get the bad Europa League teams dropping into it. So it shouldn't be as tasking even in the later rounds. Then you have, obviously, if you win it, your reward is a place in the Europa League, which is amazing. And then I mean, players like Saliba, players like, players that are coming back from loan that you're not sure about, players that need game time. What I would do is literally treat it totally separate. So I would act like we've got no Europe. So I would prepare the first team for the game on the weekend and prepare this team separately. That I wouldn't put so much energy into these games. That's the honest truth.
Yeah, Carl, what about you? Same.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you're going to have the fringe players, depending on sort of who we buy in the summer. You're going to have maybe the Calum Chamberses, the Elnenys, those sort of first team players maybe in that squad. But you would like to see the young ones, I guess the Balligans and the Miguel Azizes and people like that, definitely that being the talisman of that team, to try and get some game time. The thing is, you and I are talking from sort of a fan's point of view. The club will be looking at it from a financial point of view because they are going to want to sell tickets for people to come into the ground. Unless you treat it like the Carabao Cup and have that £10 tickets for, I guess, for that game. But they're going to want to try and win this because I'm assuming that the prize money for this isn't going to be much. Maybe 20 million, if that, I guess. So they're going to want to try and win this so they can get some money. I personally would be exactly like you two gentlemen. I would literally treat it like we've got no Europe and literally throw all your eggs into one basket, which would be the league, because we need to sort out our league form. And if playing one game a week will help us, then I'm all for that 100%. We need to climb up the table. If we don't play in Europe, then this is our best time to try and break into that top four. Us Arsenal playing one game a week, no European games. If we don't get into Europe, then I guess we're in the Carabao Cup in that second round. Can you believe that? Like, it's just it's crazy to think that Arsenal.
Oh my God, that's true.
Round. Yeah, it's mad. But yeah, Josh, I totally am with you. I would not. Like I said, the fringe players, yes, but like if say like the likes of Aubameyang would not be in the squad, the Emile Smith-Rowe, the Sakas. No, give it to, if we keep Runnison, let him be it. Let Matt Ryan be the first team goalkeeper of that. I mean, that's some experience there. Do you know what I mean? So it's not like you're going to throw just pure kids in. You are going to have some people there. And if we don't get rid of the likes of Terrera, which I guess we'll get onto later, like he can play in that, but hopefully he won't be in the team.
Yeah, I think it's very much just like having the reserves. It's going to be the squads we saw for the Europa League group stage all season in that competition, because that's the kind of quality of opposition we're going to be playing. But yeah, let's move into we were talking about fans back in the grounds as well. For however much they're paying or being paid to come to Europa Conference games. I mean, that's the ones that every school kid in the greater London region will be offered free tickets to Europa Conference. But we can talk about fans back for the Brighton game. I think there are a couple of, certainly a protest that's being organised. Not for fans being back for the Brighton game, I should add quickly, but for the Kroenke out protests, they're continuing on, and there'll be a gathering for the Brighton game. Femi, how do you feel about fans coming back? Do you think this is going to be the kind of litmus test for everybody to see how fans are reacting to this Arsenal side?
I don't think it will be. I think that because the season's over, it kind of takes the sting out of it. I don't see fans coming back just to boo in the last game. I think that would be a little bit weird, to be honest, because if it was like a normal circumstance, so we've just been out because we were out for no reason, but the fans have not been in there for over a year. I mean, geez, it's going to be a weird feeling already. I don't think they're coming to boo. Obviously, there's going to be disgruntlement when the odd pass goes out, and it's quite a tough game for us, even though we never feel like Brighton is a tough game. Brighton at home is always seems to be some sort of tough task for us to even navigate this game. So even when we win it, it's been hard. But under Graham Potter, I don't even think we've beaten them at the Emirates. They beat us once, and I think he's only been there once. But even before with Chris Hughton, so we've not had a great record against Brighton. So for me, it's just about whether the players want to put on a show for the fans, really. That's the main thing. I can see us putting out a really, really strong team, even if we've got nothing to play for, because it's the first home game that fans are properly back in. But then again, who knows what we're going to see from Arsenal? But the fans are just, obviously there is going to be a protest before the game, and that's just something the players are going to have to live with. And just when you're talking about the Conference League, actually, one thing that we got our season ticket renewal this week, and one of the things that was quite noticeable was obviously you get your 7 cup credits usually on the season tickets. So obviously this season they would refund 5 basically for you not being in Europe, and you'd get 2. So if you end up in the Europa Conference League, it will actually end up making Arsenal quite a lot of money, believe it or not, because they'll add those 5 cup credits back on, and those 5 cup credits will go really, really quickly, because if you've got 1 qualifying round, that's already 1 gone, then your 3 group games, then by the time you hit the next round, you've already rinsed out 5 already. So they know that and imagine match day revenue is quite big for Arsenal. So they will want to be, even if it's the Europa Conference League, as much as the fans hate it will still generate, even, let's not even talk about prize money, match day revenue, TV games. Arsenal games will always be shown on the TV. They'll get revenue from that. So for Arsenal, they want Arsenal to be in the Conference League. But it's going to be fun, man, having fans back in the stadium. It's been a weird year. I've not really enjoyed football. It's felt more like training games to me. So it's I can't wait, to be honest. I want football to go back to the way it was.
Do you know if you're getting a ticket yet for that game?
Well, this is quite interesting.
Still in?
Oh no, I didn't bother. I took my money out last year.
Fair.
So if you took your money out last year, you're not eligible for the ballot. So I took my money out of one of the tickets, and the other one, I got an interesting message from my friend that rents it, let's say, and he said he's no longer wishes to rent it. He's had enough. He doesn't want to go anymore. So that's the end of that for next season. So
no. Well, I'm sure you'll be inundated with at least one person who might be interested in watching Arsenal next season. We'll see how many we can get. Carl, how do you feel about fans getting back in? It means more work for you, right? At the weekends, got to shuttle them around London.
Unfortunately, yes. There will be blocking up Arsenal and Holloway Road tube stations and having to put up extra trains on the Piccadilly line. But do you know what? Football's been a hard watch for me this season just because not watching games with no fans in it's been hard. I don't like the fake crowd noise. I think it's just ridiculous. So I kind of watch. The only thing that's been kind of good is hearing all the players and the manager's shouts. That's been kind of really good, but it's still just been a hard watch. Like it's not been comfortable to watch, unfortunately. And I want the fans back in. I think the players will react because when the fans being in can give the players just that extra little boost, like the whole chanting "Come on, Arsenal!" that gives them to get them to move the ball faster. I think the players will have a little bit of a shock, to be honest. I'll be very honest with you because now, like a misplaced pass, there is no like groaning. That's going to be happening now, isn't it? Like a misplaced pass is going to like a groan, like a something not doing right and people shouting. And I guess players do tend to kind of block out the noise of the fans, but I guess with 10,000 fans being in, which is and all spaced out, it's not going to be that much. They're going to hear a few things, aren't they? Unfortunately. So yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy the fans are back in. I think we needed fans back in for a very long time, but obviously listen, government guidelines states that we can't, so I just want people to be safe. However, I don't think it's going to be all easy. I think that there are going to be some disgruntled fans. It wouldn't surprise me if Arsenal kind of handpicked the 10,000 who's going to be in the grounds, and then all like the older gentlemen of Arsenal fans, not the young ones who are going to sort of shout. It wouldn't surprise me. I'm not saying they have, but it just wouldn't surprise me if they did. But yeah, it's going to be great to watch that. Well, I know I'm doing that day, but that final game of the season, hearing fans. I mean, obviously, we're going to hear fans sort of in the next round of games, but just to hear that real crowd noise, to hear a chant, to hear what do you think of Arsenal, to hear like just that sort of knowing that people are back in, and it's just a great thing. And hopefully this will be the beginning of next season come back in, and depending on where we are in the world at the time, having full capacity back. I hope that we are. I hope everything is safe and for us to be able to have 60,000 people in the ground, but it's a long time coming, isn't it? Fans being in the ground, and hopefully it can give a boost to the players for that Brighton game, because it's not going to be a cakewalk at all, unfortunately.
What have we got? 10,000 fans allowed back in?
Yeah, so it's 10,000, I believe. Yeah. Some 10,000.
For some teams, that's going to make a massive difference. So, for example, our game against Palace next week is going to make a massive difference in a stadium like that, having 10,000 fans. And of course, the Palace fans are very, very, very boisterous and very loud, especially in their home stadium. So that, I think you're going to see a massive difference at somewhere like Selhurst Park next week.
Yeah, I think the added, as we're going to talk about the Palace game, the added thing to that is potentially Roy Hodgson's last game for the club as well as manager, with his contract running out. And if that is the last home game, the fans, the players, all wanting to be able to give him a big send-off. And we've got to be those party poopers, really, and kind of leave him with a final loss, remind him about what Arsenal can do.
Well, we've got 3 away wins in a row with 3 away clean sheets in a row, so it's something.
It's for us to slip up.
What possibly go wrong?
Yeah, Yeah, it's. I mean, it will be like obviously with somewhere like Palace, they've got so many players out of contract, so it's literally a farewell for so many of their players. Obviously Zaha, who knows whether he's coming or going. But then you've got players, brand new players who have not played in front of a crowd before. Players like Eze and a lot of our players as well, Partey and players like that. They've not played in front of a crowd before, so in England anyway, in their home stadium. So it's going to be an interesting week of football actually.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting what we'll see, and just talking about players that coming in and haven't played in front of fans. You talk about the many. Well, we had the Athletic article is what I'm going to describe it as, but other publications have gone through the potentials of ins and outs and ups and downs across what's going on at Arsenal at the moment. The big news story was about us seeking out a dedicated recruiter to find us a new set of or a new batch of scouts to come in to supplement the scouts that are currently at the club. What did you guys think of that? Carl, I'll go to you first on that article in general.
I mean, I guess the one question I would want to know is who that came from. Was it a quote unquote leak? Was it official channels? Who knows? But for me, isn't that Edu's job? Like, isn't that the job that Edu should be heading up to find these players? That's what his job is, right? His job is technical director.
Yeah, I suppose for me, yes, he's technical director or director of football, one of the two. But for me, I think it's just like any other job that if you're looking for staff, going to a recruitment agency isn't a bad thing necessarily. It's either you don't have the time for, especially with the transfer window coming up as well.
100%, but don't you think that it's a bit too late now? We're in May. Like, for me, if you owned a football club, you should have identified all your targets already. And you should have a list of, these are the list, our A list. These are the ones we really, really want. If we don't get A, these are the B list. And then these are the C list, and then the youngsters that we want to try and bring in. If you're looking to hire people in May, then you have to tell them what you need. Then they have to try and look for these players. We're on the back foot. So
we've got scouts already. I think that's one of the things that has been completely drawn over on this is we have a scouting department at the moment. When we made 55 people redundant at the club, not all of them were scouts. We just got rid of the high profile ones and replaced them. But that doesn't make a headline, is that we made 55 people redundant and also we brought in a load of scouts to replace outgoing people. I think we've got the targets in place. I think we're just trying to move our strategy along further and do that now that we know what's going on with COVID.
So I think that the article kind of goes into detail about why they use the recruitment company, which is to have it more independent kind of base. They specialize in that type of recruitment, and it also goes into detail about what the potential kind of interviewed scouts have been asked to give. So they were asked to give a compilation or scouting report for Joe Willock's loan at Newcastle, and also on, quite interestingly, Sander Berge. That's what their other assignment was. So it's quite a detailed article, to be honest. So obviously it's easy to get the recruitment agency side of things, but obviously they have contacts in the agents kind of world and people who know what's going on. And obviously they kind of had to get a quote from Arsenal about that one, because that was quite because of the amount of money that Arsenal spent on this agency has caused quite a little bit of a why have you spent so much money on a recruitment agency? I mean, I don't work in the recruitment department in my company, but I know when you bring in recruitment agencies, it ends up costing quite a lot.
100%, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And this is like an executive type recruitment agency, they were saying. So who knows? As long as we get the right people for the job. So I think they were talking about a UK scout, was one of them, a couple of UK scouts and European youth scouts is what they're looking at as well, which that's another thing that's quite interesting as well, because obviously a lot of European youth scouting we thought would be gone because of Brexit and stuff like that. So that's another interesting one. Maybe they found a loophole somewhere.
Maybe they're all going to Norway so we can find the next Odegaard, as they're not in the EU. We'll be all right. Just send them to every non-EU nation. Yeah, because I thought it was that was a really interesting point in it. And then we'll go to the 5 players. I think they have all said that they want to leave. I think if try and get the names right, Leno being one of them, Hector Bellerin, Granit Xhaka. Willian was there, and I can't remember the last one. Was it David Luiz?
It was David Luiz.
Yeah, it's those 5 players all saying that they kind of want out. Carl, what do you think about that kind of whole article? Because it was very much like we're just going to slag off Arsenal at the moment because it's the perfect time to do it. To be honest. Yeah, what did you think about that, and especially those 5 players in question?
You have to ask again who it came from. Was it someone who no longer works at Arsenal who just wants a little bit of money? Was it who was it? I guess is what we're looking for. For me, if players don't want to be there, you can go. Like I don't want players being at Arsenal who are just not interested in being there. What's the point in keeping them? You're not going to get anything out of them, unfortunately. Yeah, if they want to go, let them go. I am, as long as we can bring in replacements. I mean, replacing David Luiz. Yes, David Luiz does do well for us, but how many times can we keep renewing his contract? He is a liability, but we can't keep relying on a 30. Was he 35 now? Maybe when we've got someone else coming in. So yeah, I am definitely fine with letting him go. But Leno, for me, he has been a little bit of a liability this season. I'll be very honest. So him going this season, for me, wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Granit Xhaka, the man's Marmite, isn't he? There must be someone else in the football universe that is better than Granit Xhaka. We can't keep relying on him. It's just ridiculous to keep relying on him. And Hector Bellerin, I think it's time. Hector Bellerin has definitely not been very good this season. He's kind of, ever since his ACL injury, he hasn't come back the same. He's lost a yard of speed. He's not the player who he was before his injury, and maybe it's just time for him to go now. It's, he's done well for Arsenal, and thank you, but as no hard feelings against Hector Bellerin at all, because he's done his best for he's done his best for Arsenal. But at this present time, he's lost it a little bit, and there's no denying that at all. He has lost something in his game, and what we require from Hector Bellerin, he's not giving us. So if he wants to leave, then so be it. He may want to return back to Spain. I don't think he gets into Barcelona's squad, if I'm really honest. But so be it. It'd be a shame, because obviously we've sort of grown up with Hector. Losing a homegrown player as well is not going to be the best. But yeah, anyone who wants to leave Arsenal, you've got to let them leave, because one, you don't want a disruptive force in the dressing room. We just got rid of a collective of 3 disruptive people in the dressing room, and we don't want to carry that into the new season.
Yeah, I completely agree on that as well. And I think it also gives us an opportunity for a clean slate as well. A lot of those players that you mentioned in the spine of the team as well. And we know that is a weak point for Arsenal. We've got plenty of centre-backs. So in terms of David Luiz saying, is he going to leave or does he want another one-year deal? We've got William Saliba coming in, and if Arteta's going to integrate him properly, as I think we all agree he didn't integrate him as well as should have done, we proper messed him around. That's our Luiz replacement in that regards. Granit Xhaka again, I think a bit like Bellerin, time for him to kind of go, especially if I think us dropping into like Europa League conference or Europa or no Europe at all, which is still a possibility, that there's a lot of players here who will want to be playing European football and have possibly come here thinking, it'll only be 1 year in the Europa League or only be 2 years in the Europa League, then it'll be into the Champions League and that'll be fine. There's a lot of those players now where that promise or that potential to happen hasn't happened, and they're just a bit like, I could just go to, say in Leno's case, Borussia Dortmund are looking for a new goalkeeper in the summer. There's a perfect opportunity for him to be playing Champions League football again, if he wants to return to Germany. And I think there's other clubs like that, we can say there's the third place team in France will be playing Champions League football next season. That's an opportunity for somebody to be going there. From the club that is still of that kind of requisite quality, especially in those kind of players that were named. But yeah, like you said, Carl, I think it did sound like a lot of this was coming from either disgruntled agents trying to get Arteta out or ex-employees who were equally as disgruntled. It read to me like no one really knows what's going on inside of Arsenal right now, what the future plans are. We are not as porous with information as we were under the Gazidis era, and even the Raul Sanyehi era. So I think that's an interesting thing to look at. And Femi, whilst you were off there, was there anything you wanted to go into about those 5 players and anyone else as well that you think is potentially looking to move out, and maybe even any incomings that you've seen in the media this week?
I think it's just not to go over old grounds that you guys are talking about. I think what I do see is a massive summer. Probably the likes we've never seen of at Arsenal, if we're being serious. I can't. Maybe the summer that we brought in, was it the 2001 summer that we brought in sort of Jeffers, Van Bronckhorst, and players like that? I think we brought in like 6 or 7 players. That's probably the most I've ever seen, like first team players that we've brought in. I think we're going to have a massive overhaul, and I don't know how they're going to do it. Are they going to opt for the sell everyone and then try and buy, or buy and then try and sell? Do we even have enough personnel to handle all of this? Because we've got Edu, Arteta, this Richard, is it Richard Onions? Is it Garlic? Richard Garlic, is it?
Yeah, Richard Garlic.
You got the 3 of those. That's it. I can't think of anyone else who's probably involved directly in transfers. 3 people is a lot of work for Edu to get through. We got
Tim Lewis and all the lawyer stuff as well. Will be covered by that rather than Husfami obviously left.
Yeah, I think Richard Onions is Richard Garlic. Sorry, I keep saying Onions. He's a lawyer as well. So that will be helpful. But it's quite a thin transfer committee that we have, especially first team wise. It would be nice to get someone else to help them. I don't know if I saw a stupid rumor today, but then it was kind of in the same article. It was dismissed, which was about Campos, who's free to sign for another club this summer, that he would be, Arsenal would be interested in him, but obviously they've got Edu in that type of position.
Yeah.
So, yeah, basically Edu's going to have to earn his money this summer. I don't know how they're going to do it, but Arteta keeps saying that they've got a plan. They just need to execute it. Let's see what happens. Hopefully we don't have to pay any players off anymore. That's hopefully something that's done. But I think we're going to be shocked maybe at the transfer fees and loans that we're going to have to do, because I think some fans have massively overestimated the transfer market this summer. I mean, when you're seeing, we're just going to get 20 million for him. We shouldn't take 20 million for him. We should take 30 or 40 million for Joe Willock. And I just think that we're living in kind of dream world at the moment. That teams in France are not going to come and pay 20 million for a player. I mean, they've got a crappy TV deal, pandemic money. You're going to have to take whatever you can for some players, which is the harsh reality of things.
Yeah, I think my big hope for the transfer window, Carl, if you've got anything on this as well, jump in, would be where any of the moves we're making, how they could be affected by kind of dominoes that we're waiting for other clubs. There's a huge striker merry-go-round that's going to happen. We know Haaland is going to move on, probably. And where does that move everybody else? Because Benzema will be potentially moving on. Where's he going? We've got Lacazette. Someone could be in for Aubameyang. You don't know. Carl, how crucial is this summer for us?
I think it's Femi hit the nail on the head. I think you have to have a massive clear up, but it's not going to be easy. Although I'm not the owner's greatest fans, I think they will back Arteta in this transfer market just because they want to get the fans back on side. So I think they are going to spend money. The problem is not spending money. It's people, do you want to come to Arsenal? Now, as for you and I sitting here, Arsenal is the best club in the world and we want to all play for Arsenal, but if Arsenal come in for you, yes, you've got the prospect of playing in London and Arsenal's still a big club. But if a Chelsea come in for you, you're thinking to yourself, well, they're in Europe, their prospects look better than us. I think the days of Arsenal being able to pluck any player they really want and they're going to come to us are kind of, unfortunately, very, very much fading. We don't have that pulling power anymore because we can't offer players really what they want, and that's to compete for the Champions League to play in the Champions League and compete for the league title, neither of which we are anywhere close to doing. So I think even just identifying players is fine, but getting the players in is going to be a real hard task. And like you said, the players that we've got there, the people that we've got in charge, Arteta, Garlic, and Edu, are they good enough? Do they have tentacles in the football world like that to be? I don't know. Like I said to you guys, for me, your target should have been identified already, and we don't know. They could have been identified already, I guess. But I don't know. For me, I think we need to do a clear out first before we start buying players, because we don't want to end up with, again, a really heavy squad, and then we can't get rid of players, and then we end up, like Femi said, paying off players to leave. We don't want that, but we've got to go early, and obviously we've got the European Championships. Luckily, Arsenal don't have that many players, if any, playing in the European Championships. If Saka goes, which I don't think he's going to go, let's be honest, I think he's going to miss out of the England squad. There's really,
I think he's going to go now that there's 26 players. I think that probably means he will go.
I don't know. I just think, I don't know, because he's going to go with. I know this is not an England podcast, but I think he's going to go with Mount. I think Grealish will squeeze in. I think Greenwood is going to go, and I think obviously you've got Sancho going. So I think he will. I think he will miss out. But the only person really going to the Euros is Leno, and even then, he's not going to start, is he? He's not going to. Really...
And Tierney. Sorry to upset all our Scottish listeners. Scotland qualified.
Yes, Leno, who's not really going to. He's not going to get a game. Let's be honest. Tierney, he's going to start. Did Switzerland make it?
Yeah.
Switzerland.
Okay, so Xhaka. Who else? No.
Cedric might go with Portugal.
Is he? Because he hasn't had a game, has he? So let's be honest, he hasn't kicked the ball for ages, and if he doesn't play the last 2 games, he's not going to go. Like if he doesn't play against Palace or Brighton, he's not going to the Euros. No way. So
and then that kind of does it, because no one cares about Dani Ceballos anymore. He's gone. Odegaard isn't arguably probably coming back, and that's really it that we kind of expect to be going out. Our greater fear, I think, when we're looking at players going away on international duty, is the Africa Cup of Nations that we'll have coming in January, which will see
Pepe go,
Aubameyang as Gabon qualified. Elneny will go with Egypt and Partey with Ghana.
Jesus, that is our absolute spine, isn't it?
And if we go after Basuma, he'll be gone as well.
He'll go with Mali, and if we get Onana as our goalkeeping replacement, the Ajax goalkeeper, Cameroon qualified, so he's off as well.
Definitely need to look at that. That's not possible that you can
for 4 weeks.
That's something that they're gonna have to be careful of. But again, that's that hamper who we go after. That. Do you look at that and think, we can get Basuma, we can. So let's say that we did get Basuma, and that's our spine of our team, our 2 centre midfielders.
Well, 3, because when your backup one's gone as well in Elneny.
Yeah. So, geez.
It's Aziz for a month. It's only central midfielder.
Oh gosh!
And if we sell Xhaka as well, that's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you've got obviously African Nations is gone back to January, and I think it's in 2 years again in January as well. So you really got unfortunately for African players, it's going to start affecting that market again.
Yeah, I think Femi raised a very good point. The days of us sort of getting 20 million for the likes of one of our fringe players definitely gone. Unfortunately, it's just not going to happen. Unfortunately, even our players that are unknown, West Brom are not going to sign. Maitland-Niles, they've gone down, so West Brom are not going to sign him. So, and we're not going to get 20 million from Maitland-Niles. There's no way that's going to happen. So, do you keep him because of the January? If we go after African players, do you then keep Maitland-Niles and put him in midfield and tell him in January you're going to get at least 5 or 6 games? With Joe Willock, do you sell him? Newcastle are going to pay maximum 20 million for him, aren't they? Like, even with the English premium, you're not going to get more than 20 million for Willock. Do you keep him? Do you sell him? We know that what he can do. Reece Nelson, what do you do with Reece Nelson? He's nowhere near the squad at the moment. Will he have to go down a league to get a game? We've got a massive job on our hands this summer, like a massive, massive job. And I don't envy Arsenal to do it, but I just hope they do execute it. And even if we don't get everyone we want, because let's face it, everyone's got a shopping list of who we want, and all fans have got this idea in their head of, I want X, Y, and Z. unfortunately, it's not going to be humanly possible. Like Basuma, there's going to be so many teams in for him. Not necessarily he's going to come to Arsenal, because if a Champions League team comes in for him, he's going to go there, like over us, unfortunately. So, it's not going to be easy to bring in these players, as Josh alluded to.
Yeah, I think that's we could probably take a lot into account of who the scouts, although we're probably not using those reports. It's just for, here's a player that doesn't play for us, show us what you can do kind of deal, in being asked to look at Sander Berg, especially as he is very, very good friends with Martin Odegaard. So we'll see what that means in the future anyway, for what we can do there. We did have a question as well. Did put a tweet out earlier. I'm guessing no one else saw it, seeing as we've only got one question from Matt L. Roberts. He's just asked, is there any positives that we can take going into the last 2 games as well?
Of course, we won away to Chelsea. Whether it deserved or not, deserves got nothing to do with it. We won away. We managed to change our tactic, and going to Chelsea, who are flying at the moment. They're a Champions League semi-finalists. They just beat Man City. They beat Real Madrid. So you're not talking about a poor Chelsea team. You're talking about a very good. Like, this ain't the Lampard Chelsea team. You're talking about a Tommy Tuchel's Chelsea team, which is a very good team. And we beat them, and they huffed and they puffed, and we still beat them. So you got to take positives from that. Even you look at West Brom, and I know you can sort of maybe roll your eyes, but they beat Chelsea, and they beat Chelsea sort of 5-0. I don't know if you want to take anything from that. Yes, they had a man sent off. And they're a team that are fighting for relegation, scrapping, and we still managed to do that. Any game that you win, you have to take a positive from. You have to look at it and think to yourself, we have won a game of football, which has not come easy to us this season. We've struggled. Arsenal have absolutely struggled this season. And whether that's a culmination of the manager, whether it's a culmination of the players, the board, it's not football. It's just not played on the football pitch. It's played everywhere. We can definitely take a positive to look at it and think, we've gone to a Champions League a Champions League finalist, and we've beaten them. So I'm happy that we've done that, and I think we can only look forward. Whether Arteta will look at that and think, we played quite well in this formation. Should we change it? Should we stick with it? Who knows what he'll do against Crystal Palace? He's got a week to prepare for that Palace game. So, yeah, although my views haven't changed on Mikel Arteta, I'll be honest with you, I still don't think he's the manager for us. As long as he's here, we'll support him and back him to the high hill until he's not here anymore.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. That especially that we know there's a lot of us that want Arteta out, and especially want the owners out as well. I think one thing that we can take from Arteta's tenure is we have done a lot of good job clearing people out, and I think even if he doesn't get the best out of a squad, I think we can still build a good squad for somebody to take over from him in his image. I don't think we're going to end up with a load of players that don't fit another manager's system that we'll go after if we need to replace him. Femi, is there anything else you want to add to that?
I think the positives we can take is try and go unbeaten for the last 2 games. I mean, if you've got sort of 4 games unbeaten at the end of the season, you can build. It's better than going 4 games without a win and going into the summer extra miserable. So it'll be good to get to get 2 wins, finish ahead of that lot up the road. That would be good as well. Even if we finish 8th and above them, drop them into 9th, whatever. I think that will be a massive positive as well especially for the fan base. I don't know how much it will mean for the players, but they might see it as giving something back to the fan base, because I think the fans would be happy. We don't want to be finishing what is it, 5th year in a row behind them, which is unthinkable, to be honest with you. So, yeah, no, that would be a positive. There you go. That's something to look forward to. Let's finish ahead of that lot. That would be really good.
Yeah, and there was also a chance. I think we kind of mentioned it. It's an opportunity for the players to be playing in front of fans. I think what would be nice. I know the under-18s and I think the under-23 season is now done.
Yeah,
is any opportunity to see Bellerin or see Aziz make the bench at least. But obviously you kind of want those opportunities for the senior players. Haven't seen some of the crowd either and some of the fans, and will want that to be a connection in place as well. So I think that might be a bit difficult to arrange to get them there, but I think it would be nice to have them at least, getting used to the atmosphere at the Emirates with a smaller crowd in it. But yeah, I think that's kind of everything that we, for this week on the podcast. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else we really want to go through at the moment. We will be doing a big end of season review, obviously, when the season does finish. We'll try and get everybody who's been on, or everyone part of the podcast, get them on for their thoughts, and we could go through expectations for the summer.
Not Chris, though. We don't want Chris on, to be honest.
I mean, Chris is too busy running now. He's got a new pair of shoes. He is like...
I saw that.
Yeah, everyone saw that. It was like... I'm surprised they're not come from France or...
Let's just put it this way. He is a very happy chappy with those shoes, and I don't blame him. A new pair of shoes can change any man's life, and those certainly have. But yeah, I think... has anybody got any shout-outs? Femi, you got any shout-outs? You can say no.
No, shout out to all the season ticket holders. I'm just getting messages on my phone now saying, I've got a ticket for Brighton, I've got a ticket, and I'm just like, I'm so jealous because I opted out of it. So shout out to everyone that's got into the Brighton game. I'm jealous now.
Carl, anyone do you want to shout out because of your massive FOMO?
My shout out to John Welsh, because of the Chelsea game. We just having a back and forth in the group, and I was just like, Jenny was thinking, this guy's on crack. Like, what's he on about? Of course, we're not going to win. And no, I hope he has a happy. Is it tomorrow? His thing? No, we're not going to mention what it is. But
I think it's today. Because he was going to move it for the podcast. That's how committed he was to this.
Yes, so let's hope he ends the night a very happy chappy.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I'm going to give a shout out to Simon Collings because we haven't seen him for a while. I just want to say hi. Hi, Simon.
About 5 feet. Bloody hell, was.
Oh yeah, Fife has been chasing his dog around. Around various parks in wherever he is now living. You
can guarantee right now he's probably drinking like a £2,000 bottle of red wine. Yeah. I say £2,000 pocket change in it, to be honest. Yeah. It's like going to Tesco and plucking one off the shelf for £5.
He wouldn't even give that stuff to his dog, the stuff you get in Tesco's. Yeah. Shout out to everybody from the pod who hasn't been on this season as well. And yeah, that wraps up our podcast 400 as well. Not of this season, although it has felt like it this some games. But yeah, thank you to all our listeners. Do remember to like, and if this is the first time you're listening to us and managed to get to the end, subscribe to get even more great content. There's only a hint of sarcasm to that little sentence there. And yeah, we've been a Bergkamp Wonderlands. I think we're just still an Arsenal podcast. Thank you for the Chelsea win. And yeah, good night.
Au revoir.